All right, y'all, we're back. You're listening to Occupy the Media. I'm your host, Paco. Just want to let you know, coming up after the next break, we do have an interview with Jim Condit Jr. We'll be talking about becoming precinct captains, how important that is, and also Watch the Vote 2012, addressing the voter fraud. So, some Ron Paul news I have here from the Doug Weed blog. I think everybody should check out. This was out on April 1st. Headline: Romney gets nasty in Nevada, but Ron Paul prevails. So it says here, in Carson City, the vast numbers of Ron Paul supporters made no difference. The chair ignored them. The Carson City caucus was so ugly that the insider GOP Romney establishment itself splintered under the pressure. More than one eyewitness compared it to rape. Dang. Rape? My goodness. Let's see here. Goes on to say, this from a GOP insider who has been used in the past as a surrogate of arms. It was disgusting. The whole atmosphere was negative. The leaders were angry and arrogant. One fellow had a legitimate question about procedures and was shouted down by the chair. He was then escorted out by the sergeant at arms to be talked to. This question was answered with one sentence later during the proceedings. But he still had to go, though. He was causing a ruckus. Let's see. Another observer sent me this in an email. Quote, what sickens me is the fact that most, if not all of those 30 and younger were Ron Paul supporters, and they saw just what the good old boys and their old ladies had done to them, and see how America works now, at least in Carson City. Well, a lot of us saw it last time, saw it 4 years ago, and with this more and more people coming out now, they're getting more and more scared. So whatever they decide to do is getting exposed a lot more. It's harder for them to hide what they're doing. That's why we got so much fraud going on and it's so exposed. Let's see here. Quote, I am sick of the old country club set, making their decisions behind their luxury doors, establishing rules and techniques that enable them to have it their way or the highway, as declared by them from the podium. Won't you play that on the media, on CNN, right there, their way or the highway from the podium? I want to hear that on the TV news. Let the American people know they don't have no choices anymore. Let's see here. Quote, I saw the faces of several individual voters. For most, this was their first convention experience, and there was disbelief from all arenas. Many could not believe the Republican leaders did this, and a few stated that they were no longer interested in politics. Man, I ain't never been interested in politics. I'm interested in freedom. That's what we just need to be free already. More and more of these types of events are happening across the country, and it is driving a wedge right through the Republican Party. Many Republican voters have been lost. With the polls showing such a close race, this type of behavior is gift wrapping Obama another 4 years in office. Well, Bush ran off a lot of Republicans, and now Ron Paul is bringing a lot of independents, Republicans, Democrats, like-minded people into the Republican Party, and they can't stand it. They can't stand it. We about to hijack it. We hijacking the Republican Party. That's what it is. Let's see here. Progress and momentum such as in this is hardly limited to Nevada. It is happening in Washington, Missouri, Iowa, and other states. There are setbacks. In North Dakota, we hear on Super Tuesday, Rick Santorum won and Ron Paul came in second. The state convention was hijacked by Mitt Romney's lawyers. Romney, who came in third place in the Super Tuesday voting, nevertheless took 60% of the delegates there, even though outnumbered at the convention. And there's a link for that, so I encourage you to check that out. Mitt Romney's lawyers hijacking it. All this fraud going on. There's so much going on. The media is not talking about it. Let's just talk about everything under the sun that don't matter, instead of talking about things that do matter, like being strip searched.
And just into us this now, an update from the Supreme Court today. By a 5-4 vote along ideological lines, the nation's highest court ruled that jails can routinely subject incoming prisoners to intrusive strip searches, even for the most minor offenses. NBC's justice correspondent Pete Williams is at the court. Busy times the last days at the court. You've had quite a week. Pete, what is the decision today?
Well, this involved a New Jersey man who was pulled over by state troopers who mistakenly thought he had forgotten or failed to pay a 2-year-old fine. Their record was mistaken. He had paid the fine, but nonetheless, they arrested him. He was taken to 2 county jails before he was ultimately released. But each time he was brought to a new jail, he was subjected to a humiliating, he says, and definitely intrusive strip search. Now, he sued, claiming that's unconstitutional to strip search all incoming inmates unless there's some reason to think a person is hiding drugs or guns or was arrested for a violent crime or a firearm offense or having drugs. But today, by 5-4, the Supreme Court said, no, it's not unreasonable. It said it's hard to run jails. It's hard to know in advance who's going to be dangerous, especially with 13 million people admitted every year to the nation's jails. Justice Anthony Kennedy, who wrote the majority opinion, said it's impossible to tell whether someone's dangerous or not based on the mere fact that they committed a minor offense. Note, for example, he said that Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bomber, was originally arrested for not having a license plate on his car. Now, the court did say that if jails take the trouble to set up a separate area for people held on the most minor offenses, then maybe subjecting everybody to a strip search might be unreasonable. But most jails don't have that sort of accommodation, Andrea.
And that's really a fascinating ruling. Again, on a picture-perfect day.
Yes, fascinating ruling on a picture-perfect day. Obama just wants your privacy, your guns, and oh yeah, all your weed.
Well, new at 9, the elderly parents of a paraplegic pot activist are speaking out.
This after federal agents raided their son's marijuana empire. Ned Hibbert joins us now with the story. Ned.
Yeah, Don, Melinda, this morning, the DEA and the IRS sealed off Oaksterdam University, a medical marijuana school in Oakland, founded by a former Houstonian. Federal agents executed an early morning warrant, blocking all access to the facility and carting off trash bags full of evidence. Wearing his Oaksterdam jersey, Bob Lee and his wife Ann are following developments closely here in Houston.
Oaksterdam University has been cordoned off, and all they've been told out there is that it's a federal investigation.
You see, their son, Richard Lee, started Oaksterdam 5 years ago. He has been a regular pot smoker, however, for decades.
Do you smoke marijuana? Yes, I do.
Before that, Richard Lee was a lighting tech for the band Aerosmith when he was paralyzed in a fall from the scaffolding. He says he found small amounts of pot calmed the spasticity in his legs. But it wasn't easy convincing his conservative Catholic parents.
And he looked at us, Ned, in this house, and looked up and said, Mom and Dad, marijuana is good for me.
Ann Lee now campaigns for legalization.
This is Ann Lee, a volunteer with the Control and Tax Cannabis 2010 campaign.
A California referendum largely funded by Richard Lee failed by 8 points at the polls 2 years ago. Lee has maintained his Oakland businesses abide by state and local laws.
So far as I've been able to tell without having audited books or anything, he pays his taxes.
But federal marijuana laws are more strict than California's. Federal agents would not reveal the allegations that prompted this police raid.
I know it's frustrating, but at this point I'm not able to provide any details as to the nature of us being here today.
Is it criminal in nature? I mean, with the agents involved?
It is an ongoing criminal investigation, so I can say that.
You can't say what it's about.